Donald Trump said about the attack on Iran. He said that he canceled that because of, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, GCC countries were asking him about, they were concerned about the situation with the new round of war and how devastating that could be for these countries. Here is what Donald Trump said.
Getting ready to do a very major attack tomorrow. I was asked by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE, and some others if we could put it off for 2 or 3 days, a short period of time, because they think that they are getting very close to making a deal. And if we can do that where there's no nuclear weapon going into the hands of Iran, I think, and if they're satisfied, we will be probably satisfied also.
Yeah. What has happened, Larry? What is your assessment? What has happened to Donald Trump? Because I talked today with Professor Marandi. They don't know what Donald Trump is talking about. Literally, they don't know what is happening with Donald Trump. He's negotiating, he's changing, he's sending messages to Iran, and he says that we are the talks are somehow getting improving, but on the other hand says that everything is going to collapse. I'm going to attack them. What is happening with Donald Trump?
He's negotiating with himself, which he does a lot of these days. Let me just give you something that I picked up this morning. This is from this is the way it's billed, a senior American official. That usually means a cabinet officer or just below. Quote, we're really not making a lot of progress. This is referring to the negotiations. We're at a very serious place today. The pressure is on them to be responsive in the right way, the senior U.S. official said. Quote, again, it's time for the Iranians to throw a bit of candy out. We need some real, sturdy, and granular conversation regarding the nuclear program. If that's not going to happen, we will have a conversation with bombs, which will be a shame. The senior U.S. official said the U.S. and Iran aren't having direct negotiations. That's the first, I think, admission of that. On the substance of the agreement, they have not talked at all, but they've engaged in indirect talks to try to develop consensus around what these negotiations will look like. Now, let me fast forward to another comment based on what you said about Saudi Arabia. And this is extremely, shall we say, I can't figure it out. I don't know which way it's going. I don't know whether it's about Saudi Arabia's fear of the United States or Saudi Arabia's fear of Iran or some other thing they're doing to try and stave off the conflict. But here's what Reuters reported. Pakistan deployed 8,000 troops in a squadron of fighter jets to Saudi Arabia. The deployment is being billed as for Saudi Arabia's protection. We know they have a defense or security relationship now, so that's might be part of it. It included a squadron of 16 aircraft, mostly JF-17 fighters, made jointly with China, of course. They were sent to Saudi Arabia in early April, and now they've been joined by security officials and 2 squadrons of drones and about 8,000 troops and a Chinese HQ-9 air defense system. Question, Nima, of you. Is this to secure the Saudis against the United States re-entering the country with massive force to attack Iran? Or is this to attack Iran in conjunction with the United States? In other words, to protect Saudi assets as they attack Iran and Iran responds. I have no idea, but I suspect it's to protect them against the United States. So this is getting very confusing.
I feel the same way. I really feel the same way because I don't see Pakistan picking a fight with Iran because they want to defend.
Exact opposite.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're so close. The government in Pakistan and the Iranian government, they're so close. And Larry, when it comes to attacking Iran, and the concept of attacking Iran. We have people like General Keith Kellogg arguing that the best option for the United States right now is to attack Iran, not negotiating with Iranians. Here is what he said, what he should suggest. He reiterated, by the way, 2 times, one on Newsmax, the other today again on Fox News.
Believe how reasonable he's been in this whole process and how measured he's been. Look, there's been immutable principles of war, 9 of them since 500 BC. One of them is simplicity. And I'll make this simple. What I'm saying is I think we should break negotiations off. We should seize Karg Island for a couple of reasons. One, it controls 90% of their economy. You put the whole country at risk, or especially the leadership. You could put a provisional government in charge, an opposition government, if you want to do it. The second thing I'd do is you go 300 miles to the east, you take Rock Island, which is their command and control hub for the Strait. You put your Marines in there. The third thing you do is you line up your Avenger-class minesweepers and you escort everybody out of the Gulf on the Omani side if you want to do it, and just clear the straits out as going forward. Look, I don't trust the Iranians, the Revolutionary Guards, at all. And we're falling right into Arachi, their foreign minister, the playbook that he set out, and when he wrote the book on negotiations. This is what they do, and we shouldn't trust them. We should be very positive about what we're going to do.
Yeah.
The man's in the past, deeply, deeply in the past. He's so deep in the past, he's growing a beard. I mean, he looks like St. Nicholas. I don't know where he's coming from. I guess he's being paid. That's all I can figure. When people were doing this on the 2003 Iraq War, I had some real skepticism about him jumping in. So I went just on my own. I didn't do it for Powell. I went on my own. I wanted to see what these general officers who were advocating this 2003 invasion of Iraq, which everybody knows now I was the source in Rob Reiner's movie Shock and Awe, I was against. And I can't say anything about my boss. I'll just leave it there. When I was doing that, I went and I checked on these general officers who were on Fox, on MSNBC, on CNN, advocating for the conflict. And almost without fail, I found that they were being paid major money by the news organization in the first place, and secondarily by military contractors who stood to make tons of money off the war. So I have no faith in these old generals out there saying things like Kellogg. Plus, in Kellogg's case, I think he's senile. And I mean that sincerely. He's senile.
Are they not afraid of, if let's assume Donald Trump follows what he's advocating for?
I don't think Donald Trump
is he going to take responsibility for?
I don't think Donald Trump is listening to any of these people. I think he's in a real quandary right now. He's caught between the insistence of Bibi Netanyahu and all the people who follow him, and at the same time, the difficult political situation he sees Bibi Netanyahu involved in Israel right now, and the fact that they are, Nima, they are losing, truly losing badly in Lebanon. It's as bad as July 2006. It's as bad as 1982. They are losing badly. The IDF has quit publishing its figures because Bibi Netanyahu ordered them to quit. But we know through other sources that the post-traumatic stress rate, the suicide rate, and the no-show for duty rate is really high. They've never had these kinds of figures before. Here's a comment from an IDF commander in Lebanon. We go out every day on risky, pointless missions in broad daylight, and we get killed. That's a good summary of what's happening in Lebanon to the IDF right now. Now, they're killing lots of civilians, too. I think the report this morning was 3,000. I think it's twice that they've killed, most of whom aren't Hezbollah. Most of them are Lebanese civilians, citizens, and they aren't protecting Hezbollah in their homes or anything else. So Trump is caught between that disaster in Israel And what he said and made a bed for himself in saying it, and what he probably feels like he should do if he has any sense at all of which are diametrically opposed to one another. So he's caught in this mess and he can't get out of it. And he's trying to figure out a way to extricate himself. He's trying to figure out a way to deal with Netanyahu. He's trying to figure out a way to deal with the Arabs and others in the region. And ultimately, he's trying to figure out a way to face save with Iran because he's been beaten. It's that simple. He's been beaten. He's been beaten on the battlefield, as it were, and he's been beaten at the negotiating table. And nothing showed that more graphically than his visit to China. I don't know where we're going, Nima. I really don't. I don't know how he's going to extricate himself from this. And look at what he's doing on the sidelines while he's doing this. He's talking about Cuba. He's talking in secret now about Greenland again. He's talking about other wars, if you will, that would be more simple. To distract people's attention, I don't know. But I will tell you this, he's in a mess. He's in a terrible mess, and he doesn't know how to get out of it, and he doesn't have the capabilities mentally, experientially, historically, you name your category of knowledge to get out of it. And so we're all stuck. We're all stuck, including the Iranians, in this incredible disaster that he has brought on us.
Larry, since you mentioned the situation between Israel and Lebanon, we've learned that in the last 24 hours, the Hezbollah FPV drones have hit Israeli Iron Dome batteries. 3 of them were hit by FPV drones. I don't know how many of these batteries do they have right now in Israel, but in 24 hours, 3 batteries being hit by FPV drones.
Yeah.
I don't see that much of capability in Israel. We had a huge explosion 2 days ago in Israel.
Yes, I saw that. No one seems to know what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, Larry Johnson was on with me with Danny Haifong earlier. And at first, I wasn't sure where Larry was going, but then I understood immediately once he got there. He was detailing the number of American soldiers who have committed suicide since 9/11. More Americans have committed suicide since 9/11 than were killed in Vietnam, either Iraq War, Afghanistan. More Americans have committed suicide, military people have committed suicide than died in those wars. And we were talking about what it's doing to Israel. And, you know, if you look at the size of the IDF versus the size of our components, you know, Israel's being torn to pieces. They're being torn to pieces. And tell me about what's going to happen if Iran decides, if we are forcing Iran to decide to attack Israel again with everything it's got. There will be no Israel, period. And Trump's got to deal with that too. I've got to do what Bibi wants me to do and what Miriam and all those people with money want me to do, and probably the Epstein file blackmail. I got to do what they want me to do, but at the same time, I'm going to destroy the state of Israel. Wow. Wow, that's a real choice, isn't it? Well, I think I'll go ahead and do it. I don't know if he even has this in his brain pan. I'm not sure he's capable of making these kinds of decisions and these kind of comparisons of what's good, bad, and indifferent. But we're stuck in a mess right now. And as we pointed out on Danny's show this morning, we're already in global recession. We are already in recession. Keep going, and we are headed for depression. And the country that can least withstand that over time is the empire, because we're in such fiscal straits right now that it would just deepen so fast, so swiftly. Loss of confidence would come on immediately. And you talk about having a dismembered empire, talk about having a civil war, you're looking straight in its mouth. And I don't think this president comprehends any of this. I really don't. At one time, I thought he's an agent for something. He's working against the Epstein blackmail. He's someone's agent. He's an agent. He cannot be this stupid. And yet now I see probably enough evidence for me to determine, yes, indeed, he is this stupid. That's scary, Nima. It's scary.
From what you've seen so far, do you think that Israel is seeking for some sort of dead zone in the southern part of Lebanon? They're talking about buffer zone, but it seems to me that they don't want anybody to be in that zone, which could happen to the northern part of Israel, by the way, as well, because they
Yes.
can do the same thing to Israelis. How
Yes.
do you find that?
Well, they did it before, to a certain extent. Remember when they first started firing rockets into northern Israel and everybody moved out? A lot of people left, I'm told, left Israel, period. But some went back afterwards when Netanyahu asked them to, and now they're leaving again, and I don't blame them. I think he wanted to go north of the Litani River as far as he could go and set himself up ultimately for the next target. Iran taken care of, we're going to Lebanon. But he's run into a buzzsaw again, as they did in July of 06 and as they did in 1982. It hasn't changed any. You still have the same problem. The Syrians aren't there in numbers like they were in 82, but it's a real problem, and Lebanon's not that easy a nut to crack. And Israel is not the vaunted military that everybody thought it was. It never has been, really. Moshe Dayan made the right comment after the 67 war. It helps to be fighting Arabs. Now, that's no derisive remark about the Arabs, but it is a remark about their ability to field militaries. I mean, go back and look at Lawrence of Arabia and the difficulty he had. Look at all the other problems that we had during World War I and World War II with the Arab armies that couldn't do anything but argue amongst themselves and really couldn't fight, which is why I always thought during that brutal war between Iran and basically Persians and Iraq and basically Arabs that I knew who the winner would be ultimately if it was a fair fight. But you get into the situation where Israel is such a central thing in all of this, as Walt Mearsheimer and others have been saying from the perspective of their influence in America. And we enable that I don't know how Trump gets out of this, because you have to come back to the ultimate arbiter of this entire conflict, Israel. And when you say Israel, you're saying Bibi Netanyahu. Now, you may have seen that I think Smotrich and Ben Gvir have been reignited in terms of the ICC. They're looking to get them. They're actually looking to get them and to bring them to justice. This is going to just excite them even more. I think it's good. I think it's a great development. I'd love to see some teeth put in the ICC and put in the International Criminal Court of Justice in general and into the UN in general. But, how far is that going to go? Probably nowhere, because we're behind them. And as long as we're behind them, someone asked me this morning about international law. And I quoted Mao Zedong, and I said, international law, according to Mao, comes out of the barrel of a gun. But for a long period of time, the United States had the gun. And the gun was not always for international law, but more often than not, it was for it. And it was for it for self-interest. It was in our interest to have a law-based global community. It no longer is that way. Now we are the criminal. We are the bandit. We are the pirate. What is the status of the high seas operation right now? You looked at that? In 9 months, 194 people we've killed without any due process of law whatsoever. The document that the Department of Justice, I'm told, put together to justify these strikes in the Caribbean and the Pacific, the document is classified. We can't look at it. American people can't see this document. We've killed 194 people. We don't even know their names. We don't even know their identities. That's who we are today. And Trump is in charge of this rogue state. And his latest rogue action is a war of choice against a country that is beating him, and he doesn't know what to do.
Larry, the way I see the conflict, I don't see that much of loss for Donald Trump himself. I see a lot for Israel. And because Israel, Donald Trump can somehow declare that we won the war, we hit everything, each and every target in Iran, we can get out of the region. But the way, if he gets out of the region, look at Israel today.
He won't.
It was a colossal,
He
it's a
won't.
huge loss for Israel.
He won't get out of the region as long as Bibi's there.
Yeah.
I mean,
This is the problem.
I don't know if it's Epstein and blackmail or Miriam and her money or a combination of the two or what, but he's tied to Bibi for whatever fate Bibi reaches. And I have a feeling Bibi's fate is going to be suicide. I mean, Israeli suicide. He will be a part of that, but it'll be Israel's suicide.
And the reason I don't believe that we're going to have any sort of agreement is that there is no way to wrap this situation up for Israel as a victory for Israel.
No way.
There is no way. And there is
Not-
no way.
Neither Iran or Lebanon. Neither theater is going to be a victory. And Nima, I'm not sure at the end of the day, Gaza is going to be a victory.
Just imagine what Israel was before all this madness started, before October 7th. They were normalizing the relationship with Saudi Arabia, with all
Yes.
the GCC, together with Turkey, by the way. It's all about normalizing and Abraham Accord. Where are those sort of things right now?
And Bibi
We don't
did it
see
all.
any of that.
Bibi did it all. I mean, you can say that Smotrich and Ben-Gvir and even Naftali Bennett and others like them had something to do with it, and the 82% of the Jewish citizens of Israel that agree with what Bibi's doing. But Bibi was the leader. Bibi, instead of ensuring a place in Israel's history that will make him the equivalent of Moses, is making sure he secures a place that will make him the equivalent of the worst Israeli, the worst Zionist Jew that ever lived. That's what he's doing. When all the smoke clears and we get out of this, Holocaust overhang and all the rest of the guilt the world feels about what Hitler did and what happened to the Jews, which we all know if we studied history closely, was part and parcel of the Zionist leadership's plans for getting Jews to leave Europe and go to the promised land. A heinous, absolutely poisonous environment existed around the Balfour Declaration and everything that preceded it and followed it. Britain's perfidy, most of all, Albion's perfidy. I mean, God almighty, you go back and think about it, it's horrible. And we've been the aider and abetter ever since the British Empire collapsed, with them hiding in our shadows. And all of this is coming to fruition now. And there are 2 Americans out there in the hinterland who understand a word of what I'm saying. They're just interested in nothing but their own plight, their own situation in the country, their own jobs and so forth, which is understandable. But at the same time, you cannot be who we are today and be as ignorant as we are today. And yet we are.